In today's video, I'm going to show you how to fix wrinkles in clothing using Photoshop. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And just before we get started, I want to send out a big thank you to everybody that has subscribed to this channel. We've reached over 1,000 subscribers, which absolutely just blows my mind to think that there's 1,000 of you that are interested in what I've got to say. So it has motivated me and energized me to make more videos, to make better videos. So again, thank you very much for helping me to reach this milestone. So now let's get started in today's video, which is how to fix wrinkles in clothing using Photoshop. So if you photograph people, this is just something that you're going to run into. It's just something that happens with clothes. They get wrinkled. And whereas we don't really notice it so much when we are talking to somebody face to face, when you're looking at a photograph, because it's a still photograph, it gives you time to sort of look around the whole picture. And so wrinkles really stand out. And this is why you want to take care of them in your editing. So I'm going to show you two different approaches to fixing this. The first one's going to be the quick and nasty sort of way, which can be effective a lot of the time. And that's using things such as the clone stamp tool, the healing brush, that sort of thing, which you're probably already familiar with. And then we're going to jump onto a more advanced technique using a thing called frequency separation, which was originally developed for fixing skin tones, but it's been further developed to use on other surfaces and textures such as fabrics. Now, both of these techniques can produce excellent results, but I will say this: if you have the opportunity to fix the clothing at the time that you take the photograph, you should always go for that option. This whole mentality about I'll fix it in post, although it's a valid one, you can't do that. It's not a very practical way of thinking. If you think about this for a second, if you send your subject into a room, get them to give you the clothes, and even if you take 15, 20 minutes just ironing everything, then you're done for the rest of the shoot, as opposed to having to edit 15, 20 shots that may take you 30, 45 minutes. You've just turned a 20-minute job into something that's going to take you 1 or 2 days to fix. So if you have the opportunity to do it then and there, then always fix it in real life. And I know that it's not really practical to have an ironing board and an iron set up in the studio all the time, but I'll show you what I use. I use this little guy, and I love this thing. This is made by a company called Tefal, and it is a steamer. This works just as well as an iron, and this is a little portable one. Normally these things are a lot bigger and they come with a big tank on the floor and everything, but this one has its own little tank in here. And with this one, I can steam several garments. And even if I run out of water, I can just simply refill this. So this is the one that I use. If you want, I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in getting something like that. But that is a really practical way to take care of clothing, and you can take it with you because it's so small, so you can take it with you onto customer sites. Okay, so we're going to jump onto the computer now, and I'm going to show you how this works. Just be aware that for the frequency separation part of the video, I am going to provide you with a Photoshop action so that you don't have to set up your computer. But if you want me to show you how to break that up so that you can go and create your own action, just let me know in the comment section below, and I'll put all the steps into a blog post, and I'll link it in this video as well. So let's jump onto the computer and show you how this works.
Okay, so here we are inside of Photoshop, and before we get started, let's talk about what version I'm using. It's May 2022, so I'm using whatever version is current at this time, which is, if I do in about, it'll be 23.3.1. But I've been doing this for years, so it doesn't matter really which version you have, as long as you've got something in the last 5 or so years. This is going to work. I've got a couple of images, a couple of stock images that I downloaded from Unsplash. It was quite difficult to find images with problem clothing, so I've got this image, which is it's going to be pretty easy to fix. And then I've got this other one here, so we're going to try and fix these sort of folds in the fabric over here. But we're going to do that second using frequency separation. But let's look at this first one here first. So this is going to be pretty straightforward. There's not much stuff really here to fix. And I will say this: when you are fixing issues with clothing, don't go overboard. If you make it look too perfect, then it's not going to look real. It's going to look a bit unreal. And so even when I fix issues, a lot of the time I'll wind it back with the opacity So yeah, just something to be aware of. So I've made a duplicate of my base layer here. Let me just delete that and start again from 0. In order to do a duplicate of your base layer, or any layer really, I'm going to do a Command J. Okay, I'm on a Mac, so if you're on a PC, every time I say Command, it's Control for PC. Okay, so in this case, we're going to do Command J or Control J, and that's going to create another copy of my layer so that we can see the differences between the first after we apply the fixes. So for this one here, we're going to go pretty simple. The first thing that I always try to do, and there's a couple of little things in here. Let's just say we're going to concentrate on this. Let's say, so you can see, we're going to concentrate on, say, this area here. Whoops, let me just make sure that I've got a brush so that you can see what I'm doing. We're going to concentrate on this area here. There's a little bit there. And let's look at a couple of things in here as well. There's a couple of spots there as well. So the first one that I always try is I go with my healing brushes, okay? With healing brushes, you've got a couple of different options. These are the one that I'm actually going to show you how to use all 3 of them, but we're going to start at the top first, which is the spot healing brush tool, just the generic one. And we're going to try and see what this does. Okay. So I'm going to make my brush just a little bit bigger, and we're going to concentrate on this spot over here. We're just going to brush over the top of it. Okay. And that's sort of doing something, but it's introducing this little line here. I'm not sure if you can see that. Let's try that again. Okay, and it's sort of doing something, but it's also introducing some artifacts in there as well. Let's just get rid of that by doing an undo. Let's go down here and see if we can fix some of this stuff here. As you can see, it's not doing a great job. It's leaving all these marks around there, so we're not going to do that. We're going to jump on to the next one, which is the healing brush tool. Okay, so it's the second one on the menu, and the difference between this one and the one that we were just using was, on the first one, what Photoshop does is it samples from where it thinks it should sample. So when you're trying to fix something, it's looking for a reference, another part of the material that it thinks should be replacing it with. And this, with the second version, you are choosing where you want it to sample from. So in order to use this one, I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger again, and I'm going to hit the Option key or the Alt key. And I'm going to tell it that I want it to sample from this area. So I click here with my mouse as well, whilst holding the Option key. And then whenever I brush over the top of it, okay, it's going to sample from that area. As you can see, it's also having some sort of struggles in there. It's leaving, you may not be able to see this in the video, but it is leaving some marks in there that are not really going to work. Let's try it down here. If I sample from here and I say fix that there, then that's working a little bit better, okay? So potentially this is something that you could use in here, but it's also introducing a bit of a funny color in here. So as you notice down here, it's a darker part of the shirt, and if I sample from up here, then what happens is that a lot of the time it will try and change the color, okay? So as you can see, I just did an undo so you can see the difference. You can see that it's sort of working, and I'd probably persist with this initially to try and fix these problems, okay? Because I think with this one you can sort of get it to work and save yourself some time. But ideally, this would probably be a frequency separation method. Now I'm going to show you the frequency separation on the other image because it's going to be easier to see. This doesn't have that many crisps in the shirt. But let's have a look at this last other option that you've got in here, which is the patch tool. The patch tool allows you to select a section of any part of the photograph, in this case, this fabric here. And then once you select it, whilst you click inside of that selection and you drag it across, you're asking it to sample from in this case, the lower part. It's going to use what it sees in the lower part to fill the area on the top bit. So if I let go, okay, and you can see there, it's done something in there, right? So as you can see, this black patch wasn't really there before. It's taken it from here. So if I do an undo, you'll notice what it did, okay? So this is not really working well either. So we're probably just going to do away with this technique. Let me try in here, actually. Let me see if I can fix this part here. Okay. Again, it's leaving some artifacts around the edge there, so we don't want to use this. Okay. So let's jump on to the more effective technique for fixing things like this, and we're going to do this using this photograph over here. Now, this is going to be a lot easier for you to use because you've got these really obvious folds in the fabric in here. So with frequency separation, there is a way to set up your machine, and it takes a few steps, which can be a little bit confusing. So what I've done is I've created an action that you'll be able to download. There'll be a link in the description, so you'll be able to download that for free. And how you access that action is by going into your menu, the window menu, and just selecting action. If you don't see it, and it's going to bring up this whole menu thing just up here, and you'll see the one that I've got here, which is Ministry of Photo FS. That's the one that I want you to use. Now, you won't have this, so you need to install this. Now, to install this is very easy. I'm just going to delete it out of my computer here to show you how to install it. So I'm just going to get rid of this so you can see it's gone. And what I'll do is, this is the file that you need to download. And when you just double click on this, I'll just move this to the side, and I'll bring the actions in there. So what I'll do now is I'll bring there. That way you'll be able to see it. But when I double click on this, you'll notice that it just installs it inside of Photoshop. Okay. So once you've got that installed, all you got to do, this is a folder here. So what you're after is the actual action itself. And you'll know when you're in a folder because when you click on there, the play button is grayed out. So click on the actual action and hit play, and then just watch what happens in this section here after you hit play. So here we go, pressing play. It's going to do some, bits and pieces, but essentially it's going to run a macro that is going to set up Photoshop for you. And so that's finished now, and you'll see that it's created a couple of extra layers there for you. So let's just move this out of the way. Okay. Now let me just explain to you what frequency separation is so that you understand this. And you do need to understand this before you use this technique. But just think about it in two different dimensions. What you're actually going to do is you are going to separate detail and color, and you're going to edit them separately. So if you think about a photograph, this photograph here, for example, there's a lot of detail in here, okay? And what do I mean by detail? So you can see the fine detail in the hair, all these little lines around the eyes and so forth. You can see the pores in the skin, okay? And you can see the bits in the fabric as well, all the little stitches there. Okay, so that's the detail. And the color is just that, just the color, okay? So what you can do is, for example, let me just switch off the detail. And if I take off all the detail away from this photograph and I just end up with the color, that's what it looks like, okay? And if I take off the color, in fact, in this way, let me just show you what it looks like. You can see how Photoshop sees detail, okay? So what it's doing is it's separating the detail from the color. And we're going to fix those things separately, okay, in its own layer. So the way that I've named these layers is LF for low frequency, that's going to be the color, and then HF is high frequency, that's going to be the detail. All right, now, if you look in here, these folds, okay, they don't really have much detail. The reason that you can tell that this is a fold in the fabric is because the color changes. So let's go in and try and fix this using the color layer. So we're going to go in the color layer, and for this I like to use the clone stamp tool, but know that you can use all the other tools that are available to you, okay? Like all the healing brushes that we just used, they're all available. But for this, I like to use the clone stamp tool, okay? So what we're looking at is this dark shadow that is being caused by the fold really should be the color of around here somewhere. So we're going to sample. We're going to make this a little bit bigger. And we're going to sample from here, and we're just going to paint over the top of it. Okay, and it's not going to be perfect. That's okay. Okay, so we're just painting over the top of it. Okay, And we're going to sample again here, and we're going to go in here. Now notice that it's changing the color, but it's leaving this tiny little line in here, and that is part of the detail, okay? So we don't fix that in the color, we fix that in the detail. So we're going to go into the detail layer, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. Using the clone stamp tool, okay? We're just going to go over the top of it, okay? And we're going to, there's a little bit there that I missed, so I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to go in here, in there, okay? I'm just going to put that off. Now, as you can see, that looks a lot better than before. Let me group these so that I can show you on and off. So that's before and that's after, and that looks a lot better. However, you can see that it didn't do such a great job in there. There's a bit of a, if I turn this on and off, you can see that it's a sort of border around where I made these edits, and we're going to blend those in now. And the way that we do that is we're going to go into the color layer, and we're going to use a brush, but we're going to use a different type of brush. Down the bottom here, if you click and hold on your brush tool, there is a brush down the bottom called the Mixer Brush Tool. Now, the Mixer Brush Tool is a really interesting brush that doesn't get used a lot. And so what I'm going to show you is, let me show you, I've got this thing here to sort of show you how the brush works. So I've selected, again, Mixer Brush Tool, and I've got just a screen here with a couple of colors. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click, and I'm going to brush. Now what it's doing, if I just keep brushing in the area, what it does is it's mixing the colors so that there isn't just a very, very hard line. Let me make this bigger as well so you can see. Okay, so there's not just a hard line where the blue starts and the end ends. It sort of smudges all the colors together. So we can use that technique in here to try and just smudge some of the colors so that we can get rid of this. Let's have a look at that. So we can get rid of the outline from where we did our edit, okay? So we're going to go and use this brush. So we got that brush selected. I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller, and I'm just going to smudge. Okay, now if you do not have, when you select this, the mixer brush, make sure that everything up at the top, all the brush settings, are set up the way that I've got it. I set everything to 100, and that's what I find the best thing to set them to. And then I just simply start brushing. And what this does is it's going to blend. Okay, let me see if I can show you. You should be able to now not tell where my edits start and finish. Okay, so if I do that, it's a lot more believable. Okay, so you can sell this now much, much easier. Okay, so that is, you know what? Let's have a look at another one. So we can let's do this section here. Okay, we've got a little section here that we should probably we'll fix. We don't need to, but we'll do it anyway. So in here, what we have is we have a couple of different things. We've got a color shift, of course, but we've also got this little detail here of this little line that comes down. So for that one, we need to go to the detail, because that is a very fine line. Okay, so anything that's like a fine line is going to be done with the detail. So let's go into the clone stamp tool. Okay, let's make this nice and small. Let's sample from here, and we're going to get rid of the line first. Okay, and look, to be honest, that's probably good enough, but let's get rid of this little section here as well, that you can see this little sort of bend in the fabric. Let's go into the color now, and as you can see, you really don't see any more folds, except that the color changes. There's a little bit lighter in here than it is in here. Okay, so it should probably be this color. So let's sample from here, and we're just going to paint. Let's sample from a different color, actually. Let's just do that. Okay. And that looks a lot better than before. Let's do before and after, before, after, before, after. Okay. And then again, at the end, I always like to use the mixer brush and just give it a little smudge just towards the edges where I've done some edits. That's going to blend in all the colors very nicely. Okay. And so where are we with that? Let's do before and after. Okay. And that looks a lot better. So let's look at the whole shirt here. Okay. Let's go before and after. And just like I was saying before, what I would normally do is that looks fine, but I like to bring the opacity of the effect down just a little bit, okay? So that, I mean, if I bring it down all the way, it disappears, okay? But I bring it down to just there or so, okay? And then what we have is we have the before and after. And what that does is it just makes it a little bit more believable, because shirts, fabrics, they do naturally just have a fold in them, and they do have wrinkles, okay? So you can't get rid of all of them because it's not going to make it look believable, okay? So that is something to just be aware of. So I hope that this has made sense to you. I know it can be a little bit complicated. So if you do have any questions, make sure that you leave them in the comment section below, because I will try and help you with this. And again, if you guys want me to show you how I made the action, so what the numbers are for the action, it is a little bit different to the normal frequency separation that other people use. So if you want to see that, let me know. I'll make a blog post on my website, and I'll put a link in the, I'll update the description of the video so that you can get access to that. So if you wanted to make your own and just tweak the numbers, you can do that. So anyway, I hope that this has been helpful. And again, if you've got any questions, leave them in the comment section below.
Okay, I hope you found that useful and you were able to follow along. If you had any troubles or you've got any questions though, just leave them in the comment section below. That's probably the best place to get in touch with me. Otherwise, you can reach me through any of the usual social media platforms, and you're going to find all the links to those in the description below. And if you liked the video or you found it useful, please don't forget to click the like button. It really helps me. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. I make videos like this all the time to help you with your photography. So if you don't want to miss out on any of those, click the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I upload a new video. And don't forget about ministryopphoto.com. That's my website where you're going to find a lot of tutorials, and you'll also find things such as reviews and some downloads such as Lightroom presets. It's completely free, so make sure you check it out. That's ministryopphoto.com. So that's everything for today. I hope you found this video useful. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.